Welcome to Shadow of History, mysterious, dark, and untold stories from world history. Today, we dive into one of the most intriguing questions in the history of warfare and empire building. Why did the Mongols, who were relentlessly sweeping across Europe in the 13th century, suddenly stop their advance? The answer to this mystery lies in a pivotal moment in history, the death of Ögedei Khan, the third great Khan of the Mongol Empire. His death in 1241 brought a sudden and dramatic halt to one of the most terrifying military campaigns the world had ever seen. But what exactly happened, and how did the loss of Ögedei Khan change the course of history? Let's explore this fascinating turning point and uncover why the Mongols stopped their invasion of Europe. By the early 13th century, the Mongols, led by Genghis Khan and later by his successors, had established the largest contiguous empire in world history. After Genghis Khan's death in 1227, his empire was divided among his sons, and his grandson, Kublai Khan, would go on to rule China. But it was Ögedei Khan, Genghis Khan's third son, who was given the task of continuing the Mongol conquests in Europe. Ögedei Khan, who became the Great Khan of the Mongol Empire in 1229, was a determined and skilled leader, and under his rule, the Mongols continued their military campaigns across Europe. By the early 1240s, the Mongols had successfully invaded large parts of Eastern Europe, including the Kievan Rus and Poland. The Mongol army, renowned for its speed, discipline, and brutal tactics, had already destroyed many European cities, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The Mongol invasion of Europe seemed unstoppable, and many feared that the Mongols would continue their advance all the way to the heart of Europe. But then, in 1241, everything suddenly changed. Ögedei Khan, who had been overseeing the Mongol conquests, died unexpectedly. His death was a momentous event, one that had far-reaching consequences not only for the Mongol Empire, but for the entire course of European history. The Mongol campaign in Europe, which had been on the brink of overwhelming the continent, came to a sudden and inexplicable halt. So why did the Mongols suddenly stop their invasion of Europe? The answer lies in the Mongol system of succession. The Mongol Empire was ruled by a great Khan, and when the great Khan died, it was customary for the Mongol leaders to return to Mongolia to participate in the election of the new Khan. This system of succession, which involved the leaders of the Mongol factions gathering to select a new ruler, meant that Ögedei's death caused an immediate and urgent need for Mongol leaders to return to Mongolia. The Mongol Empire's military campaigns could not continue without the approval of the new Great Khan, and this led to a cessation of the invasion of Europe. Ögedei's death created a power vacuum in the Mongol Empire, and his successors, including his son, Guyuk Khan, and his brother Kublai Khan, sought to consolidate their power. The Mongol leaders were forced to focus on internal matters and succession disputes, which left their military campaigns in Europe without leadership. The Mongol army, which had been advancing rapidly through Europe, was suddenly pulled back, and the invasion came to an abrupt halt. In 1242, the Mongols withdrew from Eastern Europe and turned their attention back to the internal struggles of the Mongol Empire. The empire's vast territories were divided, and the factions that had once been united under Genghis Khan now had to compete for power. The death of Ögedei Khan had destabilized the Mongol Empire, and the focus shifted away from further conquests in Europe. But what might have happened if Ögedei Khan had not died in 1241? Would the Mongols have been able to continue their invasion of Europe, and what would have been the impact on the continent? It's impossible to say for certain, but historians have speculated that the Mongols might have had a profound effect on European history had they not been forced to halt their advance. Some historians argue that the Mongols could have easily conquered much of Europe. The Mongol army, led by skilled generals such as Subutai and Jebi, was unmatched in its tactics and speed. Their use of cavalry, psychological warfare, and military strategy allowed them to defeat larger and more technologically advanced armies. The Mongols had already decimated the armies of Poland, Hungary, and the Kievan Rus, and many believed that if they had continued their advance, they would have overwhelmed the rest of Europe. If the Mongols had successfully invaded Western Europe, it could have fundamentally changed the political and cultural landscape of the continent. The Mongols were known for their ability to assimilate the cultures of the regions they conquered, and it's possible that Europe might have become part of the Mongol Empire, at least temporarily. The Mongols were also known for their religious tolerance, and their empire spanned many different cultures and faiths. This could have led to a different relationship between Christianity, Islam, and other religions in Europe. The Mongol invasion also had the potential to accelerate technological and cultural exchanges between Europe and the East. The Mongols were responsible for the creation of vast trade networks that spanned from China to the Middle East, and their empire facilitated the movement of goods, ideas, and technologies. If the Mongols had conquered Europe, it's possible that European society would have been exposed to new innovations in science, medicine, and engineering from the East. The Silk Road, which had been disrupted by the Mongol invasions, could have flourished even more, leading to an earlier exchange of knowledge and resources between East and West. However, it's important to note that the Mongols did not completely abandon their European ambitions. While they did pull back in 1242, they maintained a presence in parts of Eastern Europe, and the Mongol Empire continued to exert influence over the region for years to come. The Golden Horde, a Mongol state in the western part of the empire, ruled over much of Russia and parts of Eastern Europe until the 15th century. The Mongols' cultural and political influence in this region continued long after their military campaigns ceased. In the years following Ögedei Khan's death, the Mongol Empire experienced internal strife as various factions fought for control. The lack of a strong central authority and the political instability that followed slowed down their military expansion. The Mongols never fully re-engaged in their planned conquest of Europe, and the empire began to fracture as various regions became more independent. The death of Ögedei Khan in 1241 and the resulting halt of the Mongol invasion of Europe remains one of the most fascinating what-if moments in history. If not for this interruption, it's possible that Europe would have faced a very different fate, one shaped by Mongol rule and influence. The consequences of this turning point in history are far-reaching, and it leaves us wondering what might have been had the Mongols been able to continue their unstoppable march westward. Thank you for joining us as we explored the death of Ögedei Khan and its profound impact on the Mongol invasion of Europe. If you found this story as intriguing as we did, be sure to subscribe to Shadow of History for more mysterious, dark, and untold stories from the past. Don't forget to like, share, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos. Until next time, stay curious and continue uncovering the untold stories that have shaped our world.